Ano bang patunay pa ang dapat nilang ilabas para lamang sila'y inyong umpisahang pakinggan? O baka gusto nilang ang maliit pa ang magsalita.
Nako po, Pinky Lacson.
Hindi raw kapani-paniwala. Eh sila nga ang inutusang magdala ng pera, Ginoong Pangulo. Kaya ang tanong, ano bang kinakatakutan ng chairman?
Nako po.
Ano na po ba ang nangyari sa pagsunod sa ebidensya? O piling ebidensya lamang ba ang susuriin at ipipikit na lamang ang mata sa iba?
Wala ho tayo mahabang pag-usapan dito. Senator Marcoleta, diretsahan niya hong sinupalpal yung pagtatagip ni Pinky Lacson. Diyan nga ho sa gobyerno, sa mga mastermind sa flood control ni, alam niyo na ho, Marcos Jr., yung mga ghost projects, mga ka-update. Kasi ito nga hong paglantad ng 18X Brave Marines, mga ka-update. Eh wala ho. Hindi ho sila pinaniniwalaan ng Blue Ribbon Chair. Eh ano pa nga ho ba ang aasahan ng milyon-milyon Pilipino kung mismong yung mga nasa Senado sa majority, eh hindi ho maaasahan ng mga Pilipino? Tanong ko lang ho yan, mga audit. Anong aasahan natin kung mismong mga nasa majority pinagtatakpan ang pagnanakaw, kabalbalan ng ginagawa ng administrasyong ito? Kaya ito po hong pagsasalita ni Senator Marcoleta, mga kaudita, bukas po para sa ating mga kababayan, para magising ho sila sa katotohanan na yung mga nasa majority, literal hong walang kwenta at bayaran. Puro maleta lamang ho ang kanilang mga iniisip. Kaya mga di-reacta na ho tayo kung bago lang ho isa din channel, is like and share, subscribe lamang ho, malaking tulong ngayon. Reacta na ho tayo dito, pasadahan na ho natin itong si Senator Marcoleta kung saan hindi na ho nakapagtimpi, sumabog ho sa dyan kay Pinky Lacson. Kasi nga naman mga ka-update, itong kabalbalan ni Pinky, eh nakuha niya pa hong pagtakpan. Yan ngang maleta na ipinapadala o alam nyo na, dinadala ng mga 18X Brave Marines. Saan? Sa bahay ho ni Marcos Jr. at ni Martin Luther King. Kaya mga dito wala na ho tayong paligoy-ligoy pa.
For lack of a better term. Let me be clear. It was not intended to disrespect the committee nor the Senate as a body. Fully aware of the hearings on the flood control anomalies that had not concluded, and in the absence of a committee report, the public has long been waiting. The report was not filed with the Bills and Index, but coursed through the office of the Senate President, hoping for proper disposition. The minority report was initiated out of our solemn duty to the Filipino people who were eagerly awaiting and demanding for the Senate's decisive action on the nationwide flood control scandal. Our intention was clear from the outset: to uncover the truth, hold people accountable, and propose legislative measures that will finally dismantle the deeply entrenched corruption that characterize our infrastructure projects. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, the people have waited long enough. It has been 7 months since the first Blue Ribbon hearing. For far too long, the public have been agitated, disgusted, and tormented by the thought that more than 1 trillion pesos have been openly looted from the National Treasury. Yet to this day, no one has been held accountable except for the small fry. In several instances and interviews, the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee has said that a partial committee report is to be released. Last November 24, 2025, the chair stated in an interview, and I quote, "Magsasubmit kami ng partial committee report based on info so far gathered during the previous hearing." Natapos ang Disyembre 2025, walang report. Then on January 14, 2026, during the kapihan sa Senado, another statement was made that the report was still being drafted by his staff, even chiding them for being inept. Are we supposed to depend solely on the capacity and perhaps the willingness of our staff to produce a report that the Filipino people have been waiting for? A report that is not merely a formality but a duty we owe to the public we serve. It was out of exasperation that on January 20, 2026, we took it upon ourselves to formally release the minority report in a press conference to prevent the findings of our inquiry from being stalled while the public continues to wait for answers. Yet again, on January 26, 2026, the chairman once again said that BRC's partial committee report was almost finished. Mr. President, the minority report was not done half-heartedly, nor was it done out of disregard for this institution. It was done because the Filipino people have been waiting for this chamber to tell them what has been found. The submission of a minority report therefore served a simple yet necessary and urgent purpose: to let our people know that something has been done, at least from our side. Sadly, after the minority's press conference, said report was vilified without even the courtesy of reading it. The BRC chairman was even blunt when he said that the place for the minority report is the trash bin. Sa basurahan, a submission anchored in the same hearings, 3 of which he actually presided, the same resource persons, and the same affidavits. Masasabi ba niyang pangbasura lang din ang lahat ng iyon? Kung itatapon sa basurahan ang ulat na ito, hindi ba't para na rin nating itinapon ang lahat ng ebidensya kasama na ang 2 privilege speeches niya na ginamit sa minority report? With due respect, the Senate was never meant to be a place where inconvenient findings are thrown into the trash bin just because they challenge the preferred narrative. The minority report exposes how ghost and defective blood control projects stem from systemic corruption embedded in the country's infrastructure planning, budgeting, and implementation processes. It unraveled a corrupt monitoring and quality control system that gave way to a normalized system of kickbacks, rigged bidding, and budget insertions involving lawmakers, DPWH officials, and favored contractors, even as it recommended comprehensive reforms through proposed measures to address the issues across all stages of project implementation. Finally, the minority report raised serious concerns about veering away from the initial course of investigation, from pursuing major perpetrators to selective summoning of witnesses, intimidation or discrediting of whistleblowers, and the failure to summon key political figures. This shift will undermine public trust and weaken the truth-seeking function of the Blue Ribbon Committee. As we have witnessed, after the testimony of ex-Marine Sergeant Orly Gutesa, there has been a month-long halt in the investigation, giving the persons mentioned by him, John Paul Estrada and Mark Tiksay, to flee the country to parts unknown. The resignation of BRC chairman that followed already changed the narrative. Gutesa, the only witness who connected the money trail from Saldico to Martin Romualdez, was painted to have faked his notarized sworn statement. Siya pa ang tinakot kasuhan ng falsification of public documents at perjury. To rectify this, Mr. President, I just filed a disbarment complaint against Attorney Espera and administrative complaint against Executive Judge Season of Manila RTC. Meanwhile, on February 11, 2026, my office received what appears to be a draft report from the Blue Ribbon Committee, which can only assume to have originated either from the chairman's office or from the Blue Ribbon Committee which he chairs. What was transmitted to us, Mr. President, was a link to a PDF document bearing a watermark OS Marcoleta across each and every page. Yet the said partial report does not bear the signature of the chairman, a formality ordinarily expected of any report issued by a committee, particularly from the Blue Ribbon Committee. Given the circumstances, the status of the Blue Ribbon partial report is unclear, and it could easily be disowned or disavowed at a later time. In light of this, Mr. President, guidance is respectfully sought on how such a document should be properly regarded by this body. The same people were hell-bent on criticizing the manner by which the minority report was submitted. Yet they have no qualms circulating a supposed committee report in a manner that lacks even the most basic formalities expected of an official document of this institution. maybe because of the following observed weaknesses. In the BRC chairman's interview with Dos por Dos on DCRH as early as July 31, 2025, he alleged that there are at least 60 sitting congressmen who also acted as contractors of infrastructure projects in their own districts. In a press conference and in a press release dated August 10, 2025, posted on the Senate website, the BRC chairman disclosed that House members called him and that he had a list of 67 congressmen who were contractors. Yet he did not summon them to any BRC hearing. Why did he not name them, to be fair to the rest of the members of the House of Representatives? In the sworn statement of the Diskaya, 17 congressmen were also mentioned. Why were not they asked to appear before the committee? On the other hand, the statements of former Yusek Bernardo and his cohorts Alcantara and Hernandez, who named certain senators upon the intercession of the Department of Justice, were readily heralded as gospel truth. The chairman of the BRC has also named at least 11 contractors in his first and second privilege speeches, whom he crucified to be involved in the flood control mess. Bakit hindi na sila ipinatawag? Bakit iilan lang mula sa 11 kontratistang kanyang tinukoy ang aktual na humarap sa pagdinig? Bakit namimili? Ano ang ibig sabihin nito? Remarkably, on November 14, 2025, the BRC chairman invited former Speaker Martin Romualdez to testify in its 7th hearing. He did not appear. Then on January 22, 2026, as quoted by various media outlets, the chairman said that former Speaker Martin will be invited again. If he wants to attend, he is welcome. But he cannot be forced to come due to interparliamentary courtesy. This doctrine can be challenged in the light of Section 27, Article 2 of the 1987 Constitution, which reads, "The state will maintain honesty and integrity in the public service and take positive and effective measures against graft and corruption." This doctrine, Mr. President, which is not even part of our rules, is not absolute and should not prevail over a clear and categorical mandate of the Constitution. The members of Congress have no immunity from investigation, subpoena, or public scrutiny. If anything, those who occupy the highest offices in the government must be the first to answer, not the last to be asked. And on January 11, 2026, in a radio interview over DZBB, the BRC chairman said that there is no solid evidence linking former Speaker Martin Romualdez to the flood control controversy. This is deeply troubling not only for what was asserted, but for what was prematurely concluded because the records of the hearings clearly reveal otherwise. First, Gotesa, who appeared and categorically linked him to the controversy. Second, Saldico, in his several video feeds, identified him and others as the principal actor of this most despicable scandal. Third, at least 2 out of the 17 congressmen in Diskaya's list reportedly referred to Martin Romualdez. Sa mga unang pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon Committee sa ilalim ng pamumuno ng kasalukuyang chairperson, iminungkahi ko po, Ginoong Pangulo, na anyayahan din si dating Governor Luis Chavit Singson na nagpahayag din ng kahandaan at kagustuhan na dumalo upang tumistigo sa mga flood control projects sa Ilocos. Wala rin pong nangyari, Ginoong Pangulo. We are now seeing a clear pattern in this mambo-jumbo that whenever a witness points to former Speaker Romualdez as being linked to the controversy, the credibility of that witness is quickly placed in question. In an ambush interview at the Senate on November 14, 2025, by various media outlets, the BRC chairman clarified that a remote sworn testimony will be allowed only if Saldico appears before Philippine Embassy or Consulate, and a request for a Zoom meeting under oath will be valid. First, Saldico fears for his life and therefore he cannot go to any Philippine embassy. Kung si Gutesa nga ay bigla na lang naglaho na parang bula. Sa halip na suportahan at pakinggan ang mga naglalantad ng katotohanan, sila'y pinababayaan at nailalagay pa sa panganib. Second, the statement is incorrect because under the Apostille Convention, which the Supreme Court already implemented under OCA Circular number 210-2023, Saldico can take his oath before any commissioned notary in Portugal or elsewhere in Europe. He doesn't have to do it before a Philippine consular office. All he has to do is for his sworn statement to be apostilled in that foreign country, and it will have the effect of a statement sworn before a Philippine consulate. In the 8th hearing on January 19, 2026, the VRC chairman stated, let me emphasize the point, or one point. We always go wherever or where the evidence leads us. We do not target any particular person, nor do we have the intention to cover up for anybody. If that is truly the guiding principle of this investigation, Mr. President, then several matters should have been highlighted and pursued with equal vigor. For instance, on November 18, 2025, he made a revelation during the plenary debates of the 2026 budget on general principles in the presence of DBCC officials. Sinabi niya na base sa usapan nila ni Yusek Bernardo, meron siyang may mga taong nagne-name drop sa Pangulo, tulad ni na Yusek Adrian Bersamin at Yusek Traigib Olaybar. Nagutos kay Saldico na ipasok sa BICAM yung insertions ng 100 billion. Panoorin po natin ang video, Mr. President.
Sabi niya, ang pagkaalam niya, kasama si Yusek Adrian Bersamin. 8 billion pesos, Mr. President, in at least 10 deliveries. The modus that yung arrangement nila is, may tigisa silang armor van. May armor van si Yusek Olaybar, may armor van siya, magpapark sa basement ng Diamond Hotel, darating yung van driven by Olaybar, and possibly, sabi niya, hindi siya sigurado, and possibly along with Adrian Bersamin. Bakante yung armor van, ipapark, idadrab yung isang van na puno ng pera. Ranging from 800 million hanggang 2 billion. Umabot ng 2 billion only because sometime in March, yung kanyang date na sinasabi from, I think, March hanggang April, yung delivery. Very good nga raw siya, sabi ni Yusek Olaybar, kasi nakakapag-deliver. Ang biggest kasi naipon because March 11,
Ngunit kailanman ay hindi po naimbitahan si Yusek Adrian Bersamin upang harapin at linawin ang akusasyong ito na mismong chairman pa ang nagsiwalat sa plenaryo. Earlier, on November 14, 2025, in an ambush interview, he already disputed the statement of Saldico about the alleged 100 billion insertions allegedly made by the President in the BICAM. Ang malinaw rito, Mr. President, ay magkakaibang pahayag at pagkakaunawa sa parehong issue. Isang senyales ng kontradiksyon na posibleng pagmamanipula na dapat sana'y malinaw at tapat sa publiko. This becomes particularly concerning in light of the second supplemental affidavit of former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo dated November 10, 2025, where he disclosed that he handled 5 billion worth of projects for former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bunoan each year from 2023, 24 to 25 with kickbacks of 15% therefrom. From this kickback, 75% will be shared by Bunoan and Cabral. The 25% goes to Bernardo. Pinayagan din ng chairman ng BRC ang pakikialam ng DOJ sa mga pagdinig, lalo na sa pagpili ng mga gagawing testigo sa ilalim ng Witness Protection Program. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng sapilitang pagre-require ng restitution na hindi naman hinihingi ng batas. Hindi rin po binigyan ng pansin ang mga naging kaganapan sa number 30 Tamarind Street, South Forbes na binigyang diin ni Saldico sa isa sa marami niyang video revelations. Sinabi ni Saldico na nag-deliver siya ng 1 billion sa lugar na yon. 200 million noong December 2, 2025 at 800 million noong December 5, 2025. Ayon po kay Saldico, ang paghahatid ng 200 million ay ginamitan ng isang Grandia Elite. Yun namang 800 million ay ginamitan ng dalawang Grandia Elite. Ang mga ito ay tinanggap di umano ni Yusek Jojo Cadiz sakay ng kanyang Toyota Fortuner kasama ang kanyang driver. Ang mga perang ito ay inihatid daw sa bahay ng Pangulo sa Naray Street gamit ang mga nabanggit na mga sasakyan. Ang dami pong dapat inimbitahan upang linawin at maimbestigahan ang bagay na ito. Sa Yusek Jojo Cadiz at ang kanyang driver, ang mga opisyalis ng korporasyon na may-ari raw ng bahay, si Nelson Go na dami raw ni Martin Romualdez sa nasabing korporasyon, ang security agency na bantay sa nasabing lugar upang makuha ang logbook ng pagpasok at paglabas ng mga sasakyan noong December 2 at December 5, 2025, o kaya ang CCTV footages para makilalang ganap ang mga sasakyan at drivers na may dala ng mga sasakyan at sa pagitan ng alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Sa halip, ang tinawag po ay dalawang babae na nagtakip pa ng mukha at hindi nagbigay ng sworn statement sa mga miyembro ng BRC. At nung tanungin ko sila, napansin naman po ninyo, Ginoong Pangulo, ang chairman pa ang sumasagot. Given the seriousness of these allegations, one cannot help but ask, why has Yusek Cadiz not yet been invited to testify before the BRC? The public deserves answers, but some key witnesses remain uninvited. In the same second supplemental affidavit of Bernardo, he further alleged that at least 5 cabinet secretaries and several undersecretaries had allocables recorded in what has come to be known as the Cabral files. On December 27, 2025, in a radio interview over DWIC, the BRC chairman echoed Bernardo's statement. At least 5 cabinet secretaries and some undersecretaries had allocables amounting to billions in the controversial 2025 budget. But the only names revealed were former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan and former Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin. Who are these other unnamed secretaries? And were they the same secretaries referred to by Bernardo in his second supplemental affidavit? We may never know because they were never invited in any of the proceedings, despite the chairman's apparent knowledge of who they were. So one cannot help but wonder if the chairman himself knew about their identities and their involvement in this whole mess. Why were they not summoned in the succeeding Senate investigations? Why were certain individuals being shielded from scrutiny? Is there someone up there would have been implicated or whose name would have been inevitably exposed had they been made to appear before the Senate? Mr. President, the matter does not end here. On February 24, 2026, a press conference was held in which one Attorney Levy Baligod presented a joint affidavit from 18 former members of the Philippine Marine Corps, a former enlisted personnel of the Philippine Army, and a reservist of the Philippine Army. The affidavit alleges that they were involved in the delivery of maletas filled with cash to various recipients, purportedly under the orders of Saldico. Sila po ay nagpahayag ng kanilang mga nalalaman tungkol dito sa malupit na pandarambong sa Kaban ng Bayan. Nabanggit nilang muli ang 30 Tamarind Street sa South Forbes Park, gayon din ang 14 at 41 Naray Street. Nabanggit din ang opisina ni Saldico sa House of Representatives at bahay daw sa Aguado sa harap ng Malacanang. Kinumpirma rin nila na totoo ang mga inihayag ni Orly Gutesa sa nakalipas na pagdinig ng komite. Bukod pa rito, isa sa mga nagsalitang ex-marines ay tumestigong isinama siya ni Saldico nang magatid daw ng 5 malalaking maleta sa bahay ng Pangulo sa Ilocos Norte. Ayon sa kanyang pahayag, si Congressman Sandro Marcos pa umano ang tumanggap ng pera at ilang oras lamang ang lumipas ay dumating rin daw ang Pangulo at ang unang ginang. Pero ano po ang ginawa ng chairman ng BRC? Sa halip na iharap sa taong bayan at diretsahang tanungin sa kanilang mga pahayag, kahagad na pinag-alinlanganan ang kanilang kredibilidad. Bago pa man masuri ang kanilang salaysay sa harap ng Senado, tila nabuo na ang isang konklusyon sa mismong chairman na dapat sana ay siyang magsiyasat nito. Ipinagkibit-balikat na lamang ang kanilang mga salaysay nang hindi man lang binigyan ng oportunidad na sumagot sa mga konklusyon at teorya. Kung ang kanilang mga pahayag ay hindi kapani-paniwala, lalong nararapat na sila'y paharapin sa isang formal at pagdinig upang doon mismo masubok ang kanilang inihayag. Ang chairman po ba ng BRC ang dapat magpasya kung sino ang dapat ipatawag sa pagdinig kung 20 ang bilang ng miyembro ng Blue Ribbon Committee? Nakonsulta po bang isa-isa ang mga miyembro ng BRC? Kinausap po ba, halimbawa, si Senador Bam, si Senador Kiko, si Senadora Risa, Senador Gatchalian? Nagkaroon po ba ng caucus? Nagkaroon po ba ng hearing man lang? Para pagpasyan po ang napakalaking bagay nito, Mr. President. Mr. President, sila ay matapang na nagsalita at handang tumestigo ayon sa kanilang nakita. Saksi sila sa kung saan at kanino dinala ang limpak-limpak na perang nakapaloob sa mga maleta, mga kahon at iba pang mga sisidlan na kanilang ginamit. Ano bang patunay pa ang dapat nilang ilabas para lamang sila'y inyong umpisahang pakinggan? O baka gusto nilang ang maliit pa ang magsalita? Hindi raw kapani-paniwala. Sila nga ang inutosang magdala ng pera, Ginoong Pangulo. Kaya ang tanong, ano bang kinakatakutan ng chairman? Ano na po ba ang nangyari sa pagsunod sa ebidensya? O piling ebidensya lamang ba ang susuriin at ipipikit na lamang ang mata sa iba? Ayon sa Romans 1:18, nahayag mula sa langit ang pot ng Diyos laban sa lahat ng kalapastanganan at kasamaan ng mga taong dahil sa kanilang kasamaan ay hinahadlangan ng katotohanan. Hanggang kailan po itong tahasang pagharang sa katotohanan, Ginoong Pangulo? Ano na po ba ang nangyari sa makulay na kasaysayan ng Blue Ribbon Committee na sa mahabang panahon ay tiningala at nagsilbing isang bantayog sa pagtukoy at pagtutok sa mga katiwalian at pagdarambong na nagaganap sa ating burokrasya? Hanggang kailan po tayo maghahalo-kip-kip ng mga kamay sa harap ng malawakan at karumal-dumal na paglima sa ating kabangbayan? Hanggang kailan po maghihintay sa wala ang taong bayan na mistulang ninakawan sa tanghaling tapat? Hanggang kailan ang mistulang pagbubulag-bulagan, Ginoong Pangulo? Hanggang kailan po magtitiwala sa atin ang taong bayan na nandito tayo para proteksyonan ang kanilang kapakanan? Hanggang kailan po natin sila mapapaniwala na makakagawa pa tayo ng mabuti para sa kanila?
I-allow niyo po kami mga kababayan na pag-usapan namin ni Ma'am Lorraine in the last 12 or 15 minutes namin, ito pong sistematiko, walang tigil na atake, persecution ng gobyerno ni Marcos, ni Romualdez at ni Lisa Araneta laban po kay Pastor Kibuloy at sa Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Nakakabahala po ito sapagkat these are private religious properties. And by the way, these are not under the names of Pastor Kibuloy. These are under the name of the ministry ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Yung kanilang mga schools, yung nabuo nilang mga lupa, structure, cathedral, at ang kanilang prayer and glory mountain, lahat ng ito po, bunga ito ng sacrifice of collective sharing and collective participation to generate funds, not from any government source, but from their private, religious, and spiritual activities related to their ministry work. Nang si Pastor Kibuloy po ay patuloy na lumaban sa CPP, NPA, NDF at sa korupsyon sa gobyerno, kahit na wala na si Pangulong Duterte at pinagtanggol niya ang political agenda ng mga reforma at pagbabago na isinusulong ni Vice President Sara Duterte at ni Pangulong Duterte, pinag-initan po si Pastor Kibuloy. Pinag-initan po ang Kingdom of Jesus Christ at ang mga leaders nila, Ma'am Lorraine. At ito po ang dahilan kung bakit 2 days ago, nagulat na lang tayo. One complainant lang, sabi ni Ma'am Lorraine, na-dismiss na ito sa Regional Prosecutor Service. Binuhay lang ito nila Boyeng Rimulya at ni Marcos nang si Pastor Kibuloy ay tinulungan niya magkaroon ng program si Pangulong Duterte at napapakinggan siya araw-araw, gabi-gabi sa SMNI. Ngayon, ang lahat ng naipundar sa dugo, pawis, paghihirap at pagsakripisyo ng mga members and leaders ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ ay naka-frozen, which are not related to the case of a one complainant of sex or child trafficking against Pastor Kibuloy and sexual abuse, not rape, but rather a concocted, pinagluto na complaint, sabi mo nga, Ma'am Lorraine. Target kasi yan para pasamain si Pastor Kibuloy para dumikit ang atake sa kanya. Ma'am, how do you view this? Na lumabas property pala ang target nila laban sa KOJC at ito ay sa pamamagitan ng political operations using the legal approach, kunwari. Ma'am Lorraine.
It's nothing new to us, no, Eric. Noong panahon nung tatay niyang magnanakaw din, no, usong-uso sa kay Bangag Senior, yung sequestration, kinukuha yung private properties, nagsiseize sila, they seize private properties at ginagamit yung batas, imbento, no. Yung dito ako nabibwisit dito sa mga evil na ito. Sinisira nila talaga yung reputasyon ni Pastor. Pastor is a holy man, no. I'm not a Christian. I don't think I ever will be again, ever. But it was Pastor that made me unclench my fist. Because basta my background is that I had to leave the church, the Catholic. I was born and raised a Catholic, but I couldn't stand it because the most mean persons in my life were Christians, Catholics. So I saw the hypocrisy. I saw it also. The church, the church is what? I didn't resonate with it anymore. But knowing Pastor and having worked with the KOJC and knowing them and loving them, has made me unclench my fist. It has made me understand Christianity in a deeper and more profound way. Why? Because I see it in them. It's not just words. It's not just paporma. No, I see it. They are a living example of whatever Pastor preaches, and Pastor is the most. He's just the kindest, the most compassionate, the bravest, the boldest person I know, and they have to destroy his reputation. So that these stupid wokes, I know these people, kilala ko yung mga yan, I know them, hindi nila kilala si Pastor, ang kakapal pa ng mga muka, they've not done even 1% of the good that Pastor has done in his life, and yet they feel they have the right to judge Pastor and look down on him with disdain as if they've even met him. They've not had the privilege of sitting down with Pastor the way I have, and I know him in ways that you will never know him. And dyan ako nagagalit, nagpupuyos ang dibdib ko na they have imprisoned him. This evil drug addict has imprisoned Pastor, and with some of the most horrific crimes that he has not committed that has already been dismissed many times over. And now these are trumped up charges. Yung pala, it's just a ruse. Kasi nung pa namin naririnig pinagnanasahan ni Marcos at ni Lisa Marcos ang mga properties ng KOJC. Bakit? Kasi ang ganda Talagang ang ganda. Meron ba silang, nakuha ba nila yan dahil hiningi nila sa gobyerno yan? Tinulungan ba sila ng gobyerno? Nagnakaw ba sila katulad ng pinaggagawa ng mga magnanakaw na ito sa gobyerno? This represents what you see when you go to KOJC. It's a very beautiful kingdom, and it was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of each and every member. Alam mo, kasi Pastor wants to hone all their skills, so they're singing, writing skills, media, they bake, they have goodies, and then yung entrepreneurial skills of selling, yung whatever baked goods, they have the best. Ang sarap-sarap talaga, sobrang sarap. And then inikot-ikot yan. ng Marcos alay na si Risa Ontiveros, yung sinungaling na yan, na magbabayad din yan sa takdang panahon, na hindi, she made up, she concocted a story na yung pang-aabuso yon. Eh dyan nga ako naiinggit sa kanila, they're very entrepreneurial, nabuhay sila sa honest labor, no? And it's beautiful kasi this is the kingdom, how the Philippines would look like pag walang corruption. And yan yung pinagnanasahan nila Lisa Marcos at saka ni Bongbong Marcos. At gusto nilang gamitin yung kingdom na yan that can sit tens of thousands pang concert nila, pang party. Pwede din para sa mga US soldiers na sinisip-sipan ni Marcos na chinuchupa-chupaero. Kasi chupa-chupaero yan eh, no? So yan, biro mo gagamitin niya yon, nakakagalit at napakasakit kasi hindi yan ninakaw, lahat yan. At saka si Pastor, napakasimpleng tao niyan. Yes, he likes, he dresses simply. Everything is simple with Pastor. It is not his property. There's nothing to his name.
Yan.
In fact, each and every member there contributed, including Pastor. Alam mo, pag umupo ka with Pastor, no? And even the church leaders, wala dyan yung katulad ni Sok Villegas na taga-on ng aircon niya, taga-ganyan ng mga kama niya. Di ba? Katulad ni Flavi, na nagka-KK gaming siya, na nagka-kant gaming siya, di ba? Mga hipokrito, hindi sila ganon, no? Alam mo si Pastor, he'll be the one pa to clean your plates, he'll be the one. It's a church that's founded on humility and nobility and hard work and discipline. They're very disciplined. Are they not, Eric? Very disciplined. Para mga
agree.
kapon. I'm sorry, I'm going on and on. So ito yung kawalangyaan na ginagawa ni Bongbong Marcos at ni Lisa Marcos. Nananakawin nila yan from a church led by a holy man na sinisiraan nila. But we have seen this over and over again. If you are a Christian, then you should be able to understand what they are doing to Pastor because they did it first and foremost to Jesus Christ.
Correct.
Right? Okay, Eric, I'm sorry, I went on and on. Nakakagalit.
Oo. Maganda yung punto mo, Ma'am Lorraine. Tatlong bagay din ang gusto kong idagdag doon. Number one, the KOGC properties do not belong to Pastor Kibuloy.
Yeah.
These belong to the entire ministry. At pinaghirapan po nila lahat yan in their collective spiritual dedication and in their own collective effort to bring about resources. Hindi sa pagnanakaw, hindi sa flood control, hindi po sa korupsyon, hindi sa public funds. Kung hindi mula sa paghihirap, kolektibong pagkilos, sama-samang pagtutulungan, founded on the, sabi mo nga Ma'am Lorraine, virtue of humility, hard work, love, dedication, and compassion, and focus to build the ministry from a one chapel area in Davao to a worldwide ministry around almost 7 million ang naaabot po nilang members and network and allies worldwide. So, hindi po yan pwede na pakialaman ng gobyerno ni Marcos at Romualdez. Pero dahil sila ay uhaw, gahaman, sa pundo, kapangyarihan at sa kayamanan, nakikita nila na kunwari si Pastor Kibuloy ay lulumpuin po nila at ang KOGC dahil ito ang nagbibigay ng information platform support to Vice President Sara Duterte and former President Duterte at lumalaban ito sa CPP, NPA, NDF. Kaya nga kami nagkakaso-kaso ni Ma'am Lorraine. Dahil nga sa aming araw-araw, almost 2 hours mahigit, free of charge to the government, walang bayad, for almost 3 years and a half, libreng ibinigay ni Pastor Kibuloy, worth billions of pesos na value ng airtime. Walang bayad para lamang tulungan ni Pastor Kibuloy na maabot ang pinakamalawak na mamamayan, sama ang KOGC sa pagmumulat na ito upang lumakas ang whole of government approach at ang whole of nation participation sa National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. Number 2, ito po ay malinaw na weaponization of law. Sinasalaula, ginagamit, kinoconvert ang batas at ang mga proseso sa korte at batas upang lumpuin at paralisahin ang independent at may sariling dynamics na pribadong mga organisasyon kagaya ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ sapagkat tinatarget sila sa politika, tinatarget din sila sa korupsyon ng gobyernong ito because of the good properties and resources na na-develop nila out of their hard work. So ginamit ang politika, ginamit ang batas, at inikutan ang proseso ng batas para ngayon ay ipitin at kamkamin ang mga naipundar mula sa dugo, pawis at paghihirap ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ led by Pastor Kibuloy. Hindi pwede po yan, ano? No person shall be deprived of property, life, liberty without the due process of law. Pero ang nangyayari ngayon, gumawa ng kasong gawa-gawa at ginamit ang piskalya, ginamit ang DOJ, ginamit ang korte, ginamit ang Anti-Money Laundering Council, and all of a sudden, frozen na po at hindi may gagalaw ang mga pinaghirapan at pinundar ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ led by the good Pastor Apollo Kibuloy. Third point namin ni Ma'am Lorraine. Saan ito patutungo? Lahat ng mga network and support group and individuals and organizations connected to the Duterte political camp shall be targeted. At ito ang inuna nila ang Kingdom of Jesus Christ, si Pastor Kibuloy, at ang SMNI Ma'am Lorraine. Because they have the transmitter, they have the platform, they have the talent, and they have the audience reach, and they have the ministry network that can be utilized para po sa pangangamkam ng kayamanan at poder na magkukonsolida po sila. Everything is about power consolidation in the greed for money. Yan po ang purpose ni Lisa, ni Marcos at ni Romualdez, why they are pursuing itong isang complainant lang, ha? And yet ang whole Kingdom of Jesus Christ, ang whole ministry founded on the 45 years of sacrifices nito nila Pastor Kibuloy at ng KOGC dahil sa isang complainant na alam natin kinontrol at ginagamit ni Marcos at Romualdez, napasunod ang korte, napasunod ang Anti-Money Laundering Council, at ngayon ginigipit na ang buong resources at organisasyon ng KOGC. Mabuti na lang po mga kababayan at mayroon tayong platforma of information kagaya nito na nakakapag-discuss tayo ng malaya at may punto de vista objective. And I like your point, Ma'am Lorraine, ang binanggit mo kanina. Ang historical record ng pamilya Marcos, mga ngamkam at mga aagaw, mandarambong sa pundo ng bayan, mandarambong din po sa mga pribadong pinaghirapan ng mga pinanday na yaman ng mga pribadong individual dahil sila po ay lalo lamang naiimbot kapag may malalaking mga resources na hindi nila makokontrol, subalit pinagnanasaan nila. And that is exactly how Marcos, Romualdez, and Araneta Lisa look at the properties right now of Kingdom of Jesus Christ at nila Pastor Kibuloy, Ma'am Lorraine.
Tapos alam mo, kung gusto nyo maka-experience ng totoong kabutihan, no? Gusto nyo maka-experience ng totoong kabutihan, ng totoong pagmamahal, that will really give you peace of mind and peace in your heart, magkipagkaibigan kayo sa mga taga-KOJC.
Yes.
Kasi simple, talagang they personify to me the love of Jesus Christ for each. I didn't believe in all of that anymore until I met them again. No, so for me, we would be foolish, no, if we couldn't see it on all of this on a higher level, which I think is a spiritual warfare. No, this
Yes.
people, these are very evil people. And we're up. Biro mo kinakalaban mo. Napakabubuting mga tao, a holy man, and a church that is just so full of goodness, no, na pinaghirapan. Kung kayo ba pinaghirapan ninyo tapos bigla na lang kukunin, is that not evil? Hindi nyo ba mararamdaman yan? Buti sana kung ninakaw nyo din, di ba? Kaso hindi eh. Bawat brick, every brick na lay dito sa KOJC properties ay pinaghirapan yan, and honest labor yan. Hindi yan nagnakaw sa Pilipino. Walang maleta na natanggap ang KOJC at si Pastor Kibuloy sa pinakamalaking mandarambong sa balat ng lupa, si Bongbong Marcos. Walang maletang dumating. Pinaghirapan nila yon. At itong mga demonyong ito, it's not enough. What they have stolen from the Filipino people is not enough. The trillions that they have stolen from us is not enough. They have to seize properties that are not theirs illegally. No, and they bend the law and they use every law They weaponize the government against ordinary citizens who have been upright citizens, no? The most model of citizens ang mga taga KOJC. And of course, we cannot talk about this without talking about the hand of the Americans behind this, no? The deep
Of
state,
course.
this is their playbook. No, at sinasabi nila, no, kami masusunod, kami may-ari ng Pilipinas. O putang ina, sinasalampak kayo ng Iran ngayon, 'di ba? Buti nga sa
Yes.
inyo.
Ma'am, delikado
So,
yan ang
yes.
media nila na yan. Kasi ang Kingdom of Jesus Christ, prime property, somehow around 12 or 14 hectares yan, ma'am. Nakadikit siya sa isang magandang airport. And very, very strategic,
Missions, no?
high value for military basing or forward deployment of U.S. forces and U.S. war technology in Davao region. I agree to that point.
In other words, what you're saying, Eric, is that there are national security issues here, 'di ba?
Correct.
If you let Americans use that, 'di ba? But do you think Marcos cares? He doesn't. No, he doesn't have the capacity. He's a drug addict. No, he cannot even string in a complete sentence well. He cannot even march. He cannot. All this evil that has been visited upon our country is because that leader up there who's deciding for us is a drug addict, fully incapable of anything except snorting, no, cocaine, stealing from us, chupa-chupaero there, and seizing illegal properties. Because this is the playbook. This is in his DNA. He is a Marcos. Magnanakaw ang mga Marcos, mga Romualdez. Nag-asawa pa, otro, buti sana kung nag-asawa ng maayos-ayos, di ba? Kung si Claudia Bermudez, what's her name? Claudine Bermudez ba? Yung sobrang
yung maganda.
niya. Ang inasawa pa, palakang kokak na magnanakaw din, mas malala pa. Malalang magnanakaw
Addictos
din,
din
di
daw,
ba?
ma'am, no? Itinuturo din addictos.
Yeah, yes, addict din. No? So, this is the evil of our times. No? Sometimes I ask myself, Eric, no, kasi we're wrapping up, no? Why were we born at a time like this? No? Why and you know why? What answer that is? We were born at a time like this because we were made for a time such as this.
Yes, I
We are
agree.
equal to this. I mean, just look at Inday. I have not seen a woman like this. No, she has titanium balls of steel talaga. Ibang klase si Inday, and she was made for a time such as this. And when I talk to her, I see that she has already embraced her destiny and whatever that is, because these people will not stop until they have eliminated Inday. And Eric, you know what I thought, no, is that the only reason for Inday not to be president, the next president, is for them to have her assassinated. That's it. Because she is president already.
Mag-aalsang taong bayan yan, sigurado yan, Ma'am Lorraine.
Yes.
That cannot be simply put aside by the people as if simple killing. It will be the highest, most scandalous political killing in the most recent time.
But
And it can trigger a people power.
Yeah. But Eric, kung mas takot pa sila kay Inday kaysa sa World War III, why would they not do it? Di ba?
Of course, that is a possibility. At even kay Pastor Mama, dahil alam nila hindi susuko ang KOJC, hindi luluhod si Pastor Kibuloy para manikluhod at makipagsabwatan sa kanila, that can also be done while Pastor is in detention. Kaya dapat mag-ingat po si Pastor Kibuloy, mag-ingat po ang mga ministers ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ, sapagkat these are works of evil. Pero ako, ma'am, naniniwala ako, mga kababayan, hindi ito ganun kadali mangyayari. 2 years and a half na lang si Marcos Jr. And if Sara Duterte survives this year, I know she will survive both physical attempts on her life and the political operations of a distorted impeachment operations. 2027 will be an election year preparation. Mahihirapan na po sila, tatanggalin pa sa equation si Sara Duterte. And naniniwala ako that the Supreme Court will not immediately bow to Marcos to allow this kind of evil operations na kakamkamin nila ang pinagnanasaan nilang pinaghirapang tulotodo ng mabubuting mga anak ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ sa pamumuno ng kanilang ama na si Pastor Kibuloy at ng kanilang liderato, ang ganitong kadali lang na pagkamkam ng mga pinagbubuo nilang resources at mga kayamanan ng ministry. Ma'am, it will come up to the Supreme Court. And I believe Supreme Court will not allow ng ganitong travesty of law, yung panggagahasa sa batas, pagsalaula sa mga court authorities, at pati na po ang pangingialam ng politika in the process of judicial and legal operations pertaining to the protection of life, liberty, and property of people na ngayon tinatapakan ni Marcos, wala siyang pakialam, nila Lisa at ni Romualdez, everything will come to an end. At ako ay naniniwala that AMLAC or even the local court in Makati cannot stand up to the Supreme Court scrutiny together with the watchful eyes of the Filipino people. Kaya nga natin tinatalakay ito, Ma'am Noreen.
Yeah, can I just say something, no?
Yes, Ma'am, right po.
I agree with what you've said, no? But I also believe that all of us, each of us here, we were made for a time such as this. And what makes PRRD formidable, what makes the Vice President formidable, is that they have embraced their destiny. PRRD is ready to die for this, no? Even the Vice President, she's ready for anything. You know what my joy is? My joy is when my husband and I go out, we have our date, and then afterwards we walk our dog. We're just holding hands and making kwento with our dog, and when our children come home, that's my happiest thing, no? But all of us are sacrificing all of this, lahat tayo. So why did I talk about that, no? Even that, we're giving up. I'm giving that up, no? That possibility. Okay, so lahat tayo tumatalon sa bangin ngayon kasi ang namimiligro ay ang Pilipinas. I don't want to make it sound so dramatic. I wish it were not so, but it is already so. We already see it, no? It is very clear to our minds right now, very clear. Right before our eyes, playing right before our eyes is a Ping Lacson who's a liar, who's covering up for his own crimes. But side by side with that, we see heroes standing up. We see Colonel Odi Mongao. We see the 18 Marines, the 18 soldiers standing up, no? And the retired men and women in uniform are standing up for our country. So each of us must stand for our country, and wala na nagbibilang ngayon. I heard the message of Colonel Mongao that he sent through his son because he's being detained right now. You know what his message was? He said, ituloy lang natin ang laban natin. And he also said, the Filipino is worth fighting for.
Yes.
So we take our cues from the heroes that have emerged, not from the scoundrels like Omet Browner and the cowards na tumanggap ng mga baleta na yung mga putang ina ninyo, no, pinapatay ninyo ang Pilipinas, at yung mga nagtatakip dito kay Marcos. You are going to pay for that. Okay.
There is always a day and time for reckoning. At ang
Yes.
paghukom at ang paghatol ng mamamayan in the history will always be inevitable. Hindi po yan pwedeng iwasan. Tama po kayo, Ma'am Lorraine, at maraming salamat for joining our program today, Bigwas ng Aguila. We will have our next episode, ma'am, doon sa schedule na mag-uusap tayo ulit at na-post naman natin. And salamat sa mga kababayan nating nagtitiwala at nagmamahal sa aming partnership ni Ma'am Lorraine sa programang hindi natatakot manindigan at walang pag-aalangang isulong ang tama at katotohanan para sa sambayan ng
One
Pilipino.
last, Eric, one last.
Yes, go ahead, Ma'am Lorraine.
One last. Marami ako nakakausap, malungkot na malungkot, takot na takot, kasi there's a war, there's all of this happening in our country, at natatakot sila. Gusto ko sanang sabihin sa inyo, yung sinasabi sa amin ni Pastor, ni PRRD, huwag kayong matakot. No? Tapang tayo, di ba? Walang matatakot dito. You have to be bold, you have to be brave, and you have to know why. And that's because we are doing this for our children. It is the right thing to do. And yan ang gusto nila, na matakot tayo. Walang matatakot dito. Okay?
Correct.
The spirit of evil is fear, and only
Fear.
boldness can deliver us from it. So let us be bold, let us be brave to cast away that evil. Okay? Thank you.
Ang tagapaglikha
With the mainstream media, talagang parang lantaran na nagpapakita, nakapaikot, hindi ko nga napansin eh. Sila yung nakapansin dito. Pagkatapos nung kami lumabas na, kita ko may mga nakaradyo, doon mismo, sa harap.
Sa area.
Sa kabilang kalye, meron din mga nakatayo doon. Ayun na, sabi ko nga talagang, alam nila yung mga, kumbaga alam ng mga tao to kung ano yung yung may siyempre may mga training din sila, yun talaga yung kanilang trabaho.
Okay. Ang sinasabi, meron daw dun sa, kaya daw justified yung pagtatago, meron daw 4 dun sa mga lumantad, may kasong murder?
Alam mo, Angelo, kung may kasong murder yung mga yun, hindi pwedeng nasa labas yun.
Oo nga
Hindi pwedeng nakakawala. Oo. Ang kalimitan pala ng kaso ng mga sundalo, dun sa akin na pagkaalaman, pagka pala yung 3 araw, tapos hindi ka na nakapasok ng ika-4 na araw o ika-5 araw, awol ka na.
Ah.
Yun, may problema. Sa kanila, pagka pala yung nasa ospital yung pamilya mo, o na-delay yung transportasyon mo, kunyari ikaw yung nagbabarko o nag-aeroplano na-delay, awol ka na. Yan yung mga problema nila sa kasundaluhan eh. Hindi lang naman dito sa Marines, kundi sa pangkalahatan lahat ng mga sundalo natin.
Oo. So, kaya nga, ang sinasabi kasi ni Ombudsman Boying Rimulya, sabi niya, hindi, 4 dun sa may kasong murder eh. Kung kasong murder, unavailable yun eh. Bakit malayang nakakagala, di ba? Kaya sabi nga, kaya nga biglang nawala eh. Biglang nagtago na eh. Hindi naman. Sinasabi nga sinisiguro lang nila yung kanilang security.
May sabi na kami sa Angelo, sa
NBI.
March 12.
Oo.
March 12, na kasama yung 18, pinatawag nila, kasama ko, pati nga si Julie, yung aking asawa, pinatawag din doon sa sampina nila.
Ng NBI? Bakit? Ano kinalaman ni Judy?
Ng NBI. Hindi ko alam eh. Palagay ko doon sa, di ba binabanggit na ginamit daw yung kotse. Nagtataka nga ako, bakit pati siya sinama? Alam naman nila na conjugal yung mga ganun eh. At hindi naman nila kailangang isama na. Pero sige, andyan na yan, talagang pinatawag nila, baka gusto nilang paglilinaw. Pati yung 18, kanilang pinatawag din.
Okay, siguro just to give insight doon sa ating ano bang role mo dito? Bakit ikaw yung lumalanta dito? Nauna, naintindihan natin si Attorney Baligo dahil abogado siya nung mga kawal, anong mga ex-Marines. But this time, ikaw na. Bakit napunta sa'yo?
Yes,
Kung may-
Boss Angelo, nangyari dyan, nalirecall niyo yung kay Gutesa. Yun ang naging trigger ng lahat ng ito eh. Nagsalita si Sergeant Gutesa at matapos siya magsalita, nagkaroon nga nung unang protection eh. Kasama niya yung kanyang mga ex-Marines. Pagkatapos later on, pinaalis ng mga active. Sabi na hindi, kami na mag-ano dito, tapos naging parang, binabanggit ko na nga, illegal detention. Nagkaroon sila ng affidavit, pinarikant na nila yung sinabi ni Sergeant Gutesa na hindi na totoo yung mga binanggit niya sa Senado. Tapos parang nangyari pa, tinuturo ako at saka si Senador Marcoleta na nangako daw na magbabayad. Sasabihin niya yung mga sinabi niya. So nung nakita ko to, at nagulat din pala ako, Angelo, anyway, hindi ko alam yung naging proseso. Alam ko lang may pakipag-usap sa kanila at nagkakaroon sila ng mga, siguro nung timbangan kung ano yung mga sasabihin nila, kailan sila lalabas, lahat. Hindi ako na-involved sa prosesong yan. Nung eventually, nalaman ko na nga, nalalabas na sila, doon ako naging involved. Hindi na doon sa mismong sasabihin kasi by that time, meron na silang nakasulat, meron nang napirmahan. Hindi pa na notaryo. Nung panahon na nakita ko, yun, sinabi ko, tutulong ako. Tutulong ako at alalay ako dahil ayoko mangyari yung nangyari sa kanila, yung nangyari kay Sergeant Gutesa. Kasi ang nangyari kay Sergeant Gutesa, meron akong preba dito, Angelo, sa darating na panahon, talagang tinakot yung pamilya eh. Natakot yung asawa, tinatakot yung mga anak, ginugulo. So, napuwersa dun sa ganung pagpirma ng recantation o pagpirma nung pagpapawalang, yung pagbabago ng kanyang statement dun sa Senado. So sabi ko, hindi naman yata to, hindi naman dapat mangyari to dito sa mga sundalo na lalabas yung 18. Kaya nung mag-press con sila, yun, nakaalalay na talaga.
Okay. Wala namang bago doon sa sinabi nila dahil nauna nang binanggit ni Saldico yung kanilang mga sinabi kung saan dineliver, di ba? Ibig sabihin, parang pinatotohanan lang nila yung sinabi ni Saldico. Kaya nagugulat din tayo na parang bang napakalaking issue na nagsasabi na hindi, mga sinungaling yan lumalantad. Hindi. Nauna nang nagsabi. May nawala naman pera talaga. Di ba? May mga nagsauli na nga na mga taga DPWH. Ibig sabihin, nandun yung katotohanan ng storya. So, siguro magkakaliwanagan yan pagka humarap nga kayo sa NBI. Last question. Meron daw 100 pa nalilitaw, sabi ng NBI.
Yes. Well, una, Angelo, gusto kong idugtong yung binanggit mo. No? Talagang, hindi ko nga, parang akong ako, nagsabi nyo, kriminal si Saldico. Nagnakaw si Saldico. Yung DPWH, tama ka, may mga sinusoli ng pera. Bakit itong mga ito na nagsasalita na galamay yung mga bataan ni Saldico? At sinasabi lang kami, kasama ni Saldico, may mga ID, may mga prueba. Nagsasalita ngayon, may mga picture pa. Na, alam mo, Angelo, yung kwento ko nga, tinanong ko sabi ko, bakit ba may mga picture ng gano'n na bawat delivery? Yung pala, sabi ko, parang bang Grab yan? Kasi may nagtanong ako sabi ko, pag delivery pala, pinipicturan. Yun daw, ganun talaga, parang Grab at saka Lala Move. Naging normal na. Nagpipicturan dun sa delivery tapos ipopost nila. Anyway, itong Thursday, harap ang mga kasundaluhang ito. At hindi ko alam kung ano talaga yung... Kasi ang nangyari sa amin, Angelo, parang sinasabi nila, titingnan pa ang pagkatao ng mga sundalo. Titingnan yung mga background nila. Kasi nga daw, parang ang nangyayari nga, yung binabanggit mo na may murder case, hindi credible, na nakakagulat, no? Imbis na imbestigahan yung kaso na binabanggit nila, imbis na imbestigahan yung perang sinasabing dinideliver, ang nangyari, sila ngayon ang naimbestigahan. Tapos yung mga intelligence, gumagamit siya ng pera, ng resources, imbis na tingnan kung ano ba talaga yung mga dates na sasabihin nila, kunyari, ito yung nag-deliver kami, ito yung mga isyong yan. Imbis na yun ang imbestigahan nila, yung perang nawawala na, o dinideliver sa mga taong to, yung sinasabing korupsyon, at kung sino pinag-deliveran, ang nangyari, sila pa rin ang iniimbestigahan.
Okay.
Na